Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with senior columnist Tim Carney. And Tim, let's talk about inflation this week. Democrats give a lot of different reasons about why inflation is so high. One of them is often to blame it solely on supply chains. Is that the case? Is supply chains driving high prices right now?
The two are definitely connected. What's happened is that we have lots of money floating around the economy and not a lot of people willing to do the services or able to deliver the goods that people want, which is to say that all the pandemic spending, the Democrats kept that going in 2021 and now in 2022. So they're still pumping a ton of money into the economy. The problem is that there's still all sorts of places that have been shut down by COVID lockdowns or that still are limited. And so when you have a lot of money and not a lot of people sort of providing the services, well, you bid up the price. And so as long as they keep spending all this money, the inflation will keep going up.
Another tactic that we see from Democrats when they're talking about inflation is to sort of characterize it as the result of corporate greed. Does that have any role in inflation?
No, it doesn't. I mean, blaming corporate greed, it's not that corporate greed doesn't exist, but it's like gravity. It's always there. So why would things be different now? So Pramila Jayapal, the Democratic Congresswoman, came out and said, oh, well, Starbucks is raising its prices. That's corporate greed. An argument that makes no sense, because was Starbucks not greedy a year ago when they weren't raising their prices? What happens is all of Starbucks' supply costs are going up. Their competitors' supply costs are going up. So they have to raise their prices to make a profit, and they can raise their prices because their competitors have to raise their prices. It's not corporate greed. It's inflation hits these companies just like it hits consumers, and that's why it becomes such a vicious, self-reinforcing circle.
That's a pretty good point, actually. And so finally, there's some signs that President Biden is starting to recognize this as a real negative. You know, he's changed the way that he's talked about inflation in recent weeks and sort of acknowledged it more directly. What can he do about inflation, and what is the prescription that we're hearing from liberal progressives for inflation?
Well, so it's interesting. I think this is another case of Joe Biden having suffered from having so much of the biggest media outlets on his side. The New York Times had tons of writers who were just saying, no, inflation's not real, it's a Republican lie. And I think Biden believed that. So he's very late to acknowledging that it's a real negative. He doesn't really have any short-term solutions in his toolbox. He could raise taxes or cut spending. Doing that now would be both politically unpopular, but it would also really hurt the economy. He could get rid of some of the federal programs that drive up prices, such as some farm subsidies. That would be politically costly, but it might help in the short term. Inflation is going to take a long time to fix. So Democrats are going to be stuck with just trying to figure out somebody to blame, whether it be Starbucks or Amazon or somebody else, and hope that voters don't put the blame on them for what their policies have caused.
Tim, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Tim and the rest of the commentary team at WashingtonExaminer.com.